Hi lovely and darling viewers, it's Jen here at Check Her Joy, and this time I'm doing another Top 5 Wednesday. As always, the Goodreads group is in the description below if you want to check that out. This week's topic is our favorite spooky settings, so I really love Halloween, so I picked just any setting that was kind of creepy or spooky or unnerving or just scared me. And so these are settings that kind of feel like they're their own character. Um, and I picked kind of generalized things that have multiple, like you see in multiple places and have different interpretations of like what they mean. And I picked like 3 books for each of these, but just because I put that book in that section doesn't mean it's the only place that it fits. Like Jane Eyre, I think fits in almost all of these. um, yeah, let's just go. And I'll be going really quickly through all of these, so hopefully I don't spoil any of these books for you guys either. um, so the first setting I picked was places that you can't escape from. So there's this feeling of like claustrophobia or being stuck or you're being attacked in it and you can't get away. And so that adds to its own feel to it. So from Jane Eyre, like the Red Room is a really good example of this. Jane's been told over and over and over again that this room is haunted, and as punishment, she gets locked in this room that she thinks is haunted, and she just starts freaking out. Whether or not the room is actually haunted, like Jane thinks it is, and she's going crazy in this scene. And so I feel like that's the prime example of like it doesn't actually have to be haunted. You just need to think it is, and you just need to not be able to escape, and that totally is freaky. Also, I have Security by Gina Woolstorff, where they are being attacked in this hotel, and everything's in lockdown, and they can't escape, and they can't get away from the killers. So definitely is its own, like the building itself is its own character and its own horror to it. And then in Clockwork Angel by Cassandra Clare, the main character, Tessa, gets captured and is being kept locked up in this room. And so that's kind of creepy. Like the house itself wouldn't be that bad. The ladies, well, they're keeping her hostage, but like the fact that she's being held against her will is what's creepy about this particular setting. The next setting I have is going to a strange, new, or alien world where you don't really know how things work, and so everything feels a bit strange and a bit unnerving. So a prime example of this is Coraline by Neil Gaiman. She goes through this wall and ends up in a mirror image of our house where everything is positioned the same, but everything's just slightly different. Like everything's backwards and the people she meets are just quirky, and so it's creepy because it's so similar, but it's also so strange. So I also picked Wonderland from Alice in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass by Lewis Carroll, and part of Wonderland's awesome, and a lot of the things that happen there are just really cool and like amazing. But there are some things in here, like the Queen of Hearts and the Red Queen, and you're like, I don't really know what they're gonna do next because we've entered a whole nother world, and really anything could happen. And so it's kind of strange and creepy. Also in this category, we have Zombie Ohio by Scott Kennemore, and in this we have a zombie apocalypse happening, and so all the rules of society change and flip, and people are in survival mode, and it just changes the entire dynamic, and you don't really know what anybody else is gonna do the first time you meet them. Like, are they gonna be a good guy? Are they gonna be a bad guy? If you've met them before, are they still gonna act the same? So that's definitely like it's strange. It's creepy because it's so strange and new. My next setting is a graveyard, tomb, or other place where dead bodies are being kept. Just the fact that they're like, this is where we keep dead bodies, and especially when you keep a bunch of them in one place, is eerie enough on its own without including like vampires or zombies that could be coming out to attack you. Although that's definitely another thing, but like so for instance, the graveyard scene from Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire by J.K. Rowling, that end scene is like, it's creepy enough that Voldemort is coming back but it's made worse by the fact that it's all happening in a graveyard and Harry's like chained up to a tombstone and on top of bones, and it's just so much worse because there are dead bodies there. But definitely creepy. We also have them raiding graves and taking dead bodies in Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Just, oh, please leave the dead alone. And in Hamlet by William Shakespeare, we have the famous to be or not to be speech as he's sitting in a graveyard with freshly buried bodies. Yeah, not a fan of disturbing the dead. We should leave the dead alone. My second to last really creepy setting is the woods or forest or any kind of large group of vegetation where things could be hiding. Animals, people who are hiding, monsters, just anything creepy could be in those woods. So this setting pops up a lot in fairy tales, especially in like the Brother Grimm stories like Hansel and Gretel, where they're stuck in the forest. But like over and over again, we have monsters in the woods, people who are not what they seem, and bandits hiding out kind of thing. Same for The Hound of the Baskervilles, which is a Sherlock Holmes story by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, where we have this strange beast roaming. I think they're moors, but like the same kind of idea where there's just this area where there's these creatures that could be lurking. And also including The Fire Swamps from The Princess Bride by William Goldman, where we have the rodents of unusual size lurking through this forest. And the forest spontaneously spits fire at you. That's also an added bonus to that one. But all kinds of dangers could just be lurking in these woods. And my last, spookiest, and favorite spooky setting is the really big house. This manor, mansion, castle, whatever, where there's just so many rooms and you couldn't possibly explore them all. Even if you did, by the time you've gotten to one end of the house, something could be back in the other end of the house. Bonus points if there's no electricity and you're trying to do this at night with like a candle and just there's shadows everywhere, and they're just, it seems like there's that added like there could be hidden rooms and things happening, so like really anything could be in these giant houses. So prime example of that is Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, and just she's hearing all these stories about this past resident Rebecca, and she starts to think the place is haunted. And it's definitely made worse by the fact that this house is so huge, and there are rooms that she's told she's not allowed to go into. So her imagination is just running wild. Pretty much the same thing with Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen, where our main character has been hearing all these ghost stories, and when she's in this giant house for the first time at night, she's just remembering them all, and it's creeping her out. So definitely the house. And in the gallery by Laura Marx Fitzgerald, we have the mistress of the house locked up in the third floor, and our heroine, Martha, is hearing all these crazy stories about what's happening, why the woman's locked up, and just another really large house with a lot of secrets. There are my top 5 settings that creep me out, and I love going to them and exploring them. But really, you never know what you're going to find in these specific places. As always, all of the books I mentioned will be in the description below if you want to check them out. And let me know what your favorite creepy, spooky settings are, or which ones don't you want to go to because they creep you out so much. Peace out, I love you guys, and keep reading. Bye.